This is probably about as personal as I'm ever going to get on here. Um, I want to tell you guys about my dad. So, for as long as I can remember, he has been verbally and emotionally abusive to myself, my brothers, and my mother. Growing up, he would come home drunk. Every night he came home, he was drunk, but he would only come home 4 nights out of the week. I didn't always I didn't realize where he was the days he didn't come home. Um, I was just glad he wasn't there. Um, so yeah, when he would come home, he would endlessly berate my mother, shout at her, tell her all the things she was doing wrong, complain about everything, yell at her. His abuse included gaslighting, um, and the way he would argue is if he was ever wrong and he was caught in an argument he knew he couldn't win, he would change the subject to something he knew he could win. He would make my mom question her own perceived reality. Um, and in the end, even if she went into an argument knowing she was right, she would question herself, and she would end up feeling bad for bringing anything up. And so it got to a point where she just shut down. My dad would come home, hurl insult after insult at her, complaining about what a mess the house was. It wasn't. It was never a mess. And she would just sit there and take it. And she held herself together for us, her kids. So that was the man I grew up with. When we had my old dog, his name was Cooper. He was a mama's boy. Whenever my mom wasn't home, he would just sit in his crate and mope all day. And even while we had him, she would tell people, he was her reason for coming home. Because so often she would be driving home and she'd just want to drive into a telephone pole. But she knew Cooper wouldn't be okay without her. So that's been going on. They've been married 30 years. I'm 26. Additionally, he abused her financially because all the bills that came into the house were, just all the bills that they had to pay, she would put in 100% of her paycheck, and he would just pay the difference, even though he made a lot more money than her. And that made it so that was just another way that he could control her. And my dad, he wasn't around for his kids. He didn't take us to play catch and shoot hoops with us. My mom would beg him to, but he didn't make excuses. I'm tired. I don't want to. My mom must have been exhausted because she was the one doing all that with us and working a full-time job. I may as well have, what, I did grow up without a father. There was just some guy that also lived there that helped us pay bills, but then emotionally and verbally abused all of us. And things finally came to a head in, I think, end of 2019 is when it started. He started bringing one of his girlfriends to the house to have sex with in our basement. After a few weeks, she more or less moved in. And my mom was extraordinarily clear with him that this was not okay. But he didn't care. He didn't do anything about it. To this day, his mistress is still living in our basement. And my mom does not have the money to move out. We have, over the past year, she submitted my dad offer after offer of a divorce that have been more than reasonable. They have benefited him way more than her, and he still doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to relinquish control of her. And so we've been trapped, and I've watched my mother deal with depression, and I can't imagine the pain that she's been in, because I've been suffering with depression these past few months now. I was trying to be so strong and optimistic for her, but eventually this weighed down on me too. And to think this is what she's been dealing with for not just the past 2 years that the mistress has been in our house, but the past 30 years that they've been married. And she was always afraid to leave him because, well, for money, she couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford to leave him and take care of us. And then even after my 2 brothers moved out of the house, she's just been waiting for him to die. That's really it, because she felt so powerless, so helpless. And again, even now, she can't afford to leave him. And I don't know how it is elsewhere in the world or other states, but here in Pennsylvania, the court, I guess, just doesn't recognize emotional or verbal abuse. Unless it's physical, she has no real recourse. And so at some point in my life, I'm going to petition to get that changed, because that's nonsense. But for right here and right now, we've been looking at houses for as long as the divorce has been in progress. We need room for the dogs, but we also needed my dad to give us some seed money so we could even get the house, and he doesn't want to, even though he has it. So that's where we're at right now. That's what I'm dealing with. And it's been hard for me to focus on anything else except this situation and getting my mother out of it. So just please keep us in your prayers. And if you want to help us out, there's a link in the description to a GoFundMe I set up for her. So thanks for watching.